So we should be good to go. Yep. So good morning, everybody. This is our December LTPT monthly meeting. I'm happy everybody is here. Thank y'all for making it. I know it's crazy during the holidays and everything. So it should be a good meeting, though. We're going to go over digital capacity award, timeline updates, the BEAD challenge, BEAD and challenge process updates, and then workforce and non-deployment updates as well. And then we'll have, reports from the LTPTs. So to move along into the agenda, there is a announcement that I would like to make is that I will no longer be the LTPT coordinator. Do you have two computers open? No, I do not, Peter. I may be echoing because I don't know. So sorry. Okay. Anyway, so I will no longer be the LTPT coordinator. I got promoted to Jacob Sostrom's old position, so I will now be the policy analyst for the Office of Broadband. I'm not, leaving the office or anything. So if in the meantime, while we're getting a new LTPT coordinator, Jacob and I will still be the same people to contact. So, there's not really going to be a big change in that. So there's really no reason, to fret or anything. Jacob and I will still be here to support y'all, and we'll kind of just both be acting as the LTPT coordinator for the time being. But thank you all for the nice comments in the chat. I will now go over the digital capacity award and timeline updates. It was officially announced by the NTIA that we were awarded for digital capacity. Again, that is a $70 million grant in the first year. They will be releasing about $41 million to the state, and then the next two rounds of money will be around $15 million each. Regarding timeline, we're hoping to have a webinar coming after the holidays. I'm hoping maybe January or February would be a great time to have it. But, we have to coordinate with leadership and everything and get that all authorized and approved as well. But if Jacob has any other updates, please add them, Jacob, if you can.
Nothing huge, like you said. Basically, I think we're going to be really kicking it into gear early next year. Like Aaron said, we're going to do a webinar. We're going to get some more technical information to y'all out there about the application. So expect some information about minimum and maximum project sizes, things like the amount of time the window will be open, things like that. We'll be getting into the real nitty-gritty of the application and then opening it, I think, early next year, maybe February, March optimally. But like Aaron said, we'll have to see. We'll be working with leadership, but I would anticipate that we're going to get going on this pretty quickly. We have our workforce stuff that I'll talk about a little bit later that we're going to be working on as well. So we have certainly a lot going on, and we're definitely trying to get it out the door as quickly as possible. I see a hand raised, Mr. Satchel, if you want to unmute yourself.
Yeah, good morning. It's just Archie. Thanks very much.
Archie, sorry.
So Aaron just mentioned the Digital Capacity Award. What's the dollar amount you said again? What's that?
So essentially, it'll be released to us in 3 tranches from the federal government. It will total 70 million. The first tranche will be 41.7. So essentially, there will be the first cycle will be 41.7, and then the next two, we haven't gotten an exact dollar figure. We're anticipating they'll be about 15 million each, but the first one will be 7. Okay. Forgive me, 41.7.
Thanks very much.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you, Jacob. So further down on the agenda, we will now go over the BEAD and challenge process updates. I will throw it over to Joshua Holdley.
Thank you, Aaron. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you good.
All right, perfect. So we are going to be wrapping up the B challenge process this week. We're looking to submit to the NTA no later than Friday. So we are definitely pushing forward on that. Luckily, once we get submitted to NTA, we can start curing and then start to move towards some of the infrastructure projects that require curing to be completed. We will release a webpage that accompanies our B challenge outcome results. I will steal the screen from Aaron for 1 second just to show you guys a very brief level overview of it. As the counties, feel free to reach out to us if you need any additional assistance with this. If you want custom data exports for your county, we can do, we can accommodate data requests, but it is pretty straightforward. Where you are able to select a county. So if you want to go ahead and go down to it, we can drill down into what happened. We can see challengers. We can see who is challenged. We can go through and we can select types of service, and it does allow you to go down and actually view what happened with the challenge. We'll give a little summary of it, and then you do have a table for exporting as well. You just click this little button down there. We do the same for CAIs. It is very similar, but very high level. We will be releasing this alongside our submittal, and this will serve to tell the public and the community kind of what our outcomes were. We'll also release the data for the enforceable commitments across the state that's updated, as well as our DSL modifications that are not included in here. So if anybody has any questions on anything throughout the challenge process, feel free to let us know. We can answer it, but hopefully this helps a lot. And then I do see a hand raised. Joe, if you'd like to ask a question.
Yes, Mr. Schuster, thank you. Am I interpreting this correctly? There were 56,000 challenges in the state, and 35,000 of them were accepted.
Correct.
Subject to NTIA review, correct?
Correct.
Do you have has NTIA given you an estimated timeline on when they will go through their adjudications and submit to FCC?
Yeah, so they will do kind of an initial review that should be completed within the first month. That allows us to post a more finalized list beyond our initial list that this is built off of, but it takes up to about 90 days is the timeline that they've given us for the curing. So we're hoping it only takes us about 30 to 60, but they're going to do kind of a first review that will allow us to solidify this a little bit more. And I will say, to give a little bit more meaning to these numbers, a lot of the sustained is going to be fixed wireless. We had a lot of area challenges around fixed wireless in particular areas, and we did not get really any responses from providers. I think primarily T-Mobile and Verizon on those. So a lot of the sustainment are type code 71, in particular block groups.
One last question.
And then
Jacob, can you share in the chat a link to this map, please, or is it easily found on the broadband website?
Yeah, so this will be released most likely later today or tomorrow. It is easily found. It is going to be on our Florida Jobs. Let's see, we can go to it right here. Go to floridajobs.org. You can go to our broadband. It looks like it's going off of here. And 1 second to load this. But there we go. It loads right here, or if you need to find it too, you're welcome to go to community development. We'd be under there, but we are on the home page as well. You can just go to the Connected Florida BEAD program. It will take you to the challenge page, and it will be hosted right on here. So when it updates, you just go to BEAD challenge, and then it's going to be right down here. It will be on this side. Right now, it's not live. I can maybe see. But yeah, it'll be on this page. Pretty simple. It'll be embedded right on here. The app that you see on my page, you'll be able to just click on it. It's going to be public view. You don't require an account or anything to view any of the data. It's all public. We'll have CSVs. We'll have everything we submit to NTA there for you. And then Jacob, I can provide him a link that he can send out to you guys directly so you have it as well.
Okay. We also have 2 more questions, I think, Josh. One from Peter Murray.
Hi, Josh. This is great. Thanks for the hard work. Is there I know you guys, I think, are working on Fabric 5. Is there somewhere where we can take this information and kind of put it together with where we are with the list of unserved and underserved, so we can kind of provide a snapshot. I've got a couple of commissioners that are very, interested in that snapshot, if you would.
Yeah, so we submit 5 CSVs to NTA, one of them being a post-challenge list that includes unserved and underserved for essentially the beat outcome. We will combine that with our enforceable commitments, our DSL and everything to basically make a public list that is what we are considering eligible for BEAD.
Excellent.
So yeah, and we can give lat longs and things like that for you to map it if needed.
Yeah, and that's what we want to do. We already, we've got good maps already, but yeah, this is everybody's really on edge just to get the kind of final look, if you would. So that will be, where would we find that data?
It'll be on the same page. We'll include it as a downloadable CSV. The only thing I may say on that is it may take us an extra week or two to release that, because that's kind of included in that initial NTA review. Well, they'll actually look at that CSV just to make sure our unserved, underserved looks right at a glance before we truly release it. I have no problem releasing our initial list and then just editing if necessary. But we'll kind of move through that.
No, that'd be very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and this has been a lot of bandwidth, this challenge process. The next couple months will be a lot of transparency-focused items that we intend to get project areas out there for people to see. We're trying to get an authoritative list of enforceable commitments available publicly, so you guys can map those and see those, and really be able to do a lot with broadband data, specifically coming out of the state office.
And we can give you back once we load it to our model. We can give you some feedback on what we see, and hopefully we're all in sync. Which would be wonderful.
Yeah, leading up to BEAD applications, it's the focus of Florida to refine our data. We want to make sure that most Floridians get served. So if that means that we further refine and increase accuracy of our data even beyond the challenge process, the state of Florida is not opposed to that.
Sounds good. I really appreciate this. This is going to help a lot.
Yeah, no problem. And we're always open to feedback on the app itself. We'll design apps that are very similar to this. That you can do project areas, that you can do different items, different types of things. So if you guys have feedback on how the actual user interface is, feel free to also let us know through the LTPT mechanism. All right, and I believe David was next.
Yep, he's next.
Thank you. Yeah, great work, team. Josh, specifically you. I know that when you were going through it, I did not see any of the dots in Polk County. But I know that Todd and our team has been reaching out to you. Will you be getting back with them on what was accepted and what was not in the whys?
Yeah, so there was a bulk upload issue with that where it didn't validate. I think we sent an email yesterday evening to y'all. Luckily, all your challenges, when I reviewed them, were DSL modification type 10 challenges. So we do not actually need Polk County we don't need to go through and basically incorporate the challenges that don't make it in the challenge submission window for Polk County, because there's duplicate or overlap with our DSL modification type 10 codes. Every single challenge that you guys submitted were type 10. So that should be captured under the DSL modification that Florida has elected for, that turns all type 10s that are served into underserved, making them eligible for BEAD. So I'll confirm that against the fabric for y'all. So as long as there's not another provider there offering service that's criteria BEAD, then those locations should be BEAD eligible.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate it. And once again, I'd like to reiterate, great job. We appreciate it.
I appreciate everybody's patience in working through us as we definitely figure out a lot of our data, and try to increase the accuracy and the transparency of it, because it's been a big focus of ours. And then one more question. Do we have time, Aaron?
Yeah, of course. Philip.
If it's okay if I may ask a question, I know I'm
not
part of the leadership. I'm just listening in and participating. Excuse me. Have a holiday cold already. Thanks, Josh, for all of your hard work. Appreciate it. Could you just recap one thing? You probably said it before. So could you the project areas and the versions that you're using, states are all have different versions. Some are using 3.2, some are using 4, some are using 5. The FCC just right now they're 5, but as of January, the BDC is probably going to be at version 6, I guess. So I don't know if it's if we're going to be held to we're using whatever version if it matters. But I just welcome your thoughts on this.
Yeah, so I won't speak too definitively on this, but I will kind of reiterate that the state of Florida is in favor of using the most accurate, up-to-date data that will reflect for BEAD applications. As far as this data goes, it was all built off of version 4. We will shore this up to version 5. And then basically with the BDC reports, we'll go through it. We'll also look to maybe incorporate data to further get accuracy, that we'll put hard steps in place to make that accurate, as well as there are some steps coming from the NTIA on how to essentially increase accuracy, some of the BSL fabric reporting that the FCC lacks as we move towards BEAD. A lot of other states are kind of pushing that envelope as they're further along in the process. But as for us, we're on version 4. We intend to show up to version 5. And then if version 6 is out before the BEAD application process, we'll most likely also plan to shore up to that. Additionally, we'll look to take data outside of those kind of shore ups. If it makes sense, if there's something that's just screaming that says like, hey, this whole area is not served, and there's definitive evidence and definitive proof, and the provider, the county has come together like, yeah, that's true. It would be almost, it doesn't make any sense for us not to serve those Floridians and make sure that as much service is hitting the ground. Florida's lucky because we have so much funding that can do this, and our topography is pretty forgiving. We don't have mountains and we don't have permafrost, so we don't have frost for a lot of things that prevent a lot of deployment. So did I answer it for you?
Yeah, for relative to the version, but as far as the BEAD areas, is it ZICTA? Is it census block group? Is it county? Is it township? Where are you going right now? You probably have said this, but I didn't know if it changed. But if you could just
block group.
Block group. Okay.
Yeah, we're pretty close to a census level. For BEAD applications, we'll look to build our project areas off of like a grouping of block groups. So it's pretty definitive. It's pretty everybody agrees for most part on census level boundary files. So block group is kind of how we'll move forward. Track if necessary.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask the question. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, and I'll always feel free to reach out to Robert Gitson as well.
Okay.
He can provide a lot of data on actually what we use.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
All right. I appreciate the time everyone's given today. As far as doing this, I'll pass it back to Aaron. I'm going to hop because there's a lot of data coming together to get this submitted for the holidays. So appreciate everyone's time. Feel free to reach out over email if you have any questions. And then, like I said, I'll get this link to Jacob so he can share it once we actually launch it and get this going. But thank you. Happy holidays. Safe travels. Everybody's traveling, and take care.
Thank you, Josh, for answering all those questions. That was super, super helpful. So I'll go back to sharing the agenda. Okay. Now I will throw it over to Jacob to provide any updates on our workforce / non-deployment.
So basically, like as Josh was talking about, we're going through the BEAD challenge process. We have, once we get through the challenge process, we'll publish a list of locations, a map of the locations, and that will be in service of, the specific service areas which the providers will be able to bid on. And so also with our BEAD, initial proposals, we've laid out a plan for workforce in advance of that. So obviously that's like a pretty tight timeline depending on what the NTIA is doing, but we're going to try and get our workforce stuff rolled out before that so that we can have a workforce available in advance of the infrastructure dollars being distributed to the service providers. So basically over the last month or so, we've been working to sort of get the word out about the workforce. We've had 2 informational webinars, one that was focused towards the community action agencies and the workforce boards, and another that was focused on our educational institutions, our state and technical colleges. Those both went really well. People seem very interested. So we've got that working. Later today, we're going to have a call with internet service providers where we are going to sort of burrow into some of their needs, what skills that they're looking for, how we can make sure that they're involved in the process so that, anybody who's going through these programs is going to be able to be confident that they're going to be able to get a job with a real service provider at the end. So we're going to, after the new year, we're going to host a more technical webinar, sort of like I was talking about with the capacity grant. We're going to have one with the for the workforce about application stuff, dollar amounts, etc. So be looking forward to that. This is a big priority for our secretary, so we want to make sure that we do a good job on this and that it's as clear as possible. So that'll be coming soon. And I think we're looking to sort of start the application process in terms of timeline. End of February, early March, so that's tentative and we'll see, but that's, like I said, when we can be looking for that. So be on the lookout for that and for digital capacity early next year. Yes, sir.
Jay, so should this be something we should be talking with the whole LTPT about in our communities?
Yeah, I would definitely say get some local engagement on it. I bring it up to the LTPT. We want some, I think, boots on the ground sort of advice in terms of, what colleges are doing, what programs do they have, what are their needs, how can we help on an individual level. That's the sort of idea behind the LTPT initiative, right? Every area is different. So yes, I would definitely say get some feedback from the LTPT, local educational institutions, nonprofits, anybody who's involved in the workforce sphere. More data is always going to be good for us. So yeah, I would definitely say bring it up to the LTPTs.
And those certs that you guys showed in the presentation, are you open to other certs, or are those very specific ones that you want people trained to achieve?
So for the that specific curriculum framework that we have,
Yes.
so that was developed with MasTech specifically in mind. They do a lot of work in this field. So that's one of the things I think we're going to be working with the other service providers and other contractors in the state, is making sure, hey, is there anything that they haven't spoken to that you feel like you need, or that they did speak to that you don't find necessary, or whatever? Like, what are the differences? So we're open to feedback on that as well, is what I'll say.
Excellent. Yeah, because we have some real thoughts beyond just a broadband tech, but more like a broadband enabled application tech training. Well, I'll share that with you offline.
Okay, love to hear about that. Any other questions? Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Jacob, for that update. So now we are going to ask those who are not a official member of the LTPTs to please step off. This is, the time for the LTPTs to share information that they just want to share with my team or talk to other members.
Aaron, I
So
got
if you're
one
not,
question before we drop, if I may ask it.
Yeah,
if
of
that's
course.
Okay.
Yeah, of
Just
course.
the latest and greatest update on BEAD application process, pre-qualification. It's a kind of a fluid thing. Could you just recap that just for the BEAD applications for ISPs to apply for potential areas? Because I know it's somewhat fluid, and I just want to get the latest and greatest from you at this point, if you haven't provided it already.
Jacob, could you
Can
provide?
you? Sure. What service provider do you work with?
Talkie Communications.
Okay. So y'all had not had a grant through our office, correct? Am I remembering that right?
That's correct. Right.
So essentially, we're going to be the way we're essentially going to be handling it is if you've done an infrastructure grant already through our office, we're going to be doing kind of a accelerated pre-qualification, just because we've got all of their financial information. Once we get further down the road with BEAD and we start posting service areas, then we'll be able to get some more pre-qualification information, more in-depth stuff from the service providers we haven't worked with, but that'll be a little bit down the road. So that's essentially the way we're going to handle it. But once we get, like I said, once we get further through the challenge process, once we get our service areas posted and stuff like that, that will be more what we'll be looking for in that time frame.
Okay, that's great, and I appreciate that. I'm just wanted to get a sense of that. We're talking somewhere like the end of February or March or something like that for potential pre-qualifications of non-pre-qualified ISPs. Is that kind of the ballpark timeframe or something like that?
I don't want to put a specific date on it just to not box myself in, but sometime next year, like I said, it might be later. I think we late spring, early summer is I think tentatively when we were looking at launching applications. So it may be a little later than that, but like I said, I'm not 100% sure on it, and it's not set in stone. So I can look into it and get you some more information on that specifically. But that's it might be a little later than what you were anticipating.
Right. And now for the pre-qualification itself, is that what you're thinking late the summer, or are you thinking perhaps second quarter sometime maybe? I'm just ballpark. I'm not holding you to it. I mean,
Okay.
this is just generic because it's it's such a fluid situation. We're actively monitoring this, and we want to make sure that we're not missing anything, and something appears and we don't get an email or something gets locked in spam, et cetera. So.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, we'll see. I would think probably March, April. But like I said, again, not locked into that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
July-ish is later. July, August, I think, is when we were tentatively thinking about opening the application. So a little bit before then. But like I said, it's all fluid. So and we'll definitely let you know. Make sure to sign up for
Perfect.
updates on the
I
website,
appreciate
and
the
we'll
ballpark
keep you in the loop.
estimate, and I'm not holding you to it. I'm just trying to get a sense and make sure I get the latest, kind of the latest direction you think it is. But I know it's not carved in stone at this point in time, and it's fluid. So thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you for allowing me to participate and ask the questions. I'll drop off now, but again, thanks. Bye. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you. Okay. So yes, once again, if you're not an official member of the LTPT or if you're not a part of the Office of Broadband, please step off. But happy holidays, and I hope y'all have a very safe and Merry Christmas. So I'm assuming everybody has stepped off that needs to. Oh, Archie has his hand raised. You can ask your question, Archie.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for everybody to step off, but okay. So I'm not sure if anybody else on the call got approached by a legislative survey or it's called the Office of Program Policy Analyst and Government
Yes, sir.
Accountability.
Yes,
So
sir.
they did contact me and I did meet with them. So just to let you know.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I know Kyle Hawley from Santa Rosa County reached out to let us know as well that Opago was going to be reaching out to. I'm not sure if every LTPT in the county, but I know that they reached out to them. But thank you for letting me know that they reached out to you. As us being in an office, we're not allowed to like be involved in those surveys or whatever they're asking y'all. But I hope that was a good experience.
Yeah, it was fine.
With that.
Yeah, I was kind of wary at first because I was like, oh, okay, but then when they kind of explained what they were doing, that they were mandated by legislators to do that. So okay.
Yeah, that's the legislature's auditing arm basically. Since we got such a large amount of state dollars, they're just doing their due diligence. They asked us some questions about our data and our programs as well. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It's just fact finding from our perspective.
Okay. All righty, that's it.
Okay.
Happy holidays to everybody too. So
Thank you, Archie.
All right.
If anyone has any updates, Kyle, I think I saw your hand. Yep, Kyle, your hand is raised. Kyle,
okay, can you hear me? Yeah,
oh,
hi.
Yes.
Hi, so I was just going to share with you a little bit about Workforce 2, but just before I go into that, our Opaga experience was very positive. I took the opportunity to set an agenda as well to point to any recommendations that might end up in their report, that might lead to, a further broadening of reach of the broadband dollars. So we looked at it as really a two-way street. So I had a good time with them. 'em. Um, uh, Workforce has been something that our LTPT has taken up very early. We looked at it as really a two-way street. So I had a good time with them. So I had a good time with them. Workforce has been something that our LTPT has taken up very early. We looked at it as really a two-way street. on. And so we worked primarily with our local technical college. And we've had great high levels of participation from the ISPs. And so we were really prepared to craft a grant application to create a program built around certain certifications, but we never really could get confirmation from the ISPs over in this market that the placements would occur. And so the technical college was just if we could get the placements, if we knew what we could do, then we would be glad to start a program. But it's looking to me like in Santa Rosa that we may not, through our technical colleges, be able to create a program because we're not seeing and hearing enough about job placements from the ISPs. So I only share that to say that we if school districts are so strapped, having lost some revenue to the expansion of the private schools through the voucher program, that they're just really have to make sure that placements would be there in order to create a program. So I'm kind of feeling like now I want to go back and maybe engage the state colleges, because I can remember from one of the conferences, I guess Miami-Dade, with their partnership with MasTech, has really maybe has that solid program. And I'm sorry I missed the first part of this call. I think you guys may have addressed some of the certifications that they're looking for, but I'm going to suggest that now we are going to look to the state colleges and not the technical colleges. And I just hope that that is in some way helpful to you all.
So it's super good to know, particularly the part about the placements. We are working on and engaging with the service providers. We're going to meet with a group of service providers today, and we're going to follow that up with one-on-ones. That's a good thing to address, the specific placements, and being able to offer something a little more concrete in terms of finishing a program and having a specific placement with a service provider in the area. As sort of something that's lacking. So appreciate the feedback, and we will bring that up to him when we speak to him later this afternoon.
And Kyle, a lot of the hiring for the technical jobs, particularly deploying fiber, is done by the integrators like Jose Mas,
Yes.
MasTech. So the actual ISPs themselves may not have the staff. I know that one of the two largest in the country, but here in Florida also, they told us directly they need phone techs. They don't need people out in the field as much as they need people answering the phones that can do technical diagnosis, can be customer service, that sort of skill set, which was a surprise to us when we did the diligence. But they said that was a bigger priority than an actual hands-on tech. So
I agree with you.
The state's doing, yeah.
Yes, I agree with you. I was hearing that a little bit too as we were going through this. We did, of course, check with some of the MasTech crews that are in this particular area. I happen to know some of those guys who actually, I found this interesting. There were a couple of guys on existing MasTech teams here who wanted to increase their professional development. They wanted some kind of certifications because they wanted to become the trainers for people who would help with the expansion of broadband. I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. There were two people here very interested in that. And then we reached to other companies, I guess the Irby company, the Pike. These are companies that, pull fiber for the power company subcontracted. And I just wanted to kind of share that we've been reaching to those folks too, because we did hear, well, the ISPs, we're not going to think through that, aside from what you've talked about, internal employment for the processes once the fiber is laid. So then we tried to reach to these service providers who would be contracted, and I'm just not hearing that they kind of want to just do it their way. But I think there's probably value in the state college system creating it. Because they will certainly want money, and if the BEAD program is going to have enough workforce program in there for them to do it across the state, I think that might turn out to be a better option. I just know that our school district lost too much money, and twice before with regard to economic development. It was not broadband related in any way. One was, I think, advanced manufacturing. Local and regional economic developers really advocated that our technical college create a program. They did it, spent money on it. Economic development community did not offer any funds, and then companies didn't build, didn't come. And so the school districts feel kind of hurt over here in terms of, so now that's added to like, well, we just cannot do it unless there's going to be placements in order for us to recover the dollars that it takes to do it. So thank you though for the redirection on some of those other internal certifications or skill sets that are needed.
Yes, sir. And we're definitely gonna, so that a part of our sort of interview one-on-one follow-up question is going to be what contractors you're working with, so that we can drill down on what their specific needs are as well, to your point, and to Peter's point that like obviously they don't necessarily hire the technicians themselves, so making sure that you get that other perspective is important, and that's definitely something we're going to be working with also.
I will say to you guys that in terms of like digital literacy specialist is the language our LTPT is using when we engage with our nonprofits and when we engage with our school districts. And there's a whole lot of interest in bringing in those kinds of people to move across all of our curriculum areas to just really try to focus on improving the facility. I mean, our community now, we feel so blessed because it looks like a whole bunch of our community is going to get connected. So we're really, it's clear that our time needs to be better spent on teaching people how to access the internet better. So that is resonating. I mean, I'm sure you'll see a grant application probably from the county with regard to digital literacy specialists deployed all across our community, like navigators. But I think we want to really modify that perception. My experience with navigators through Department of Children and Families was they were important and they provided some assistance, but they always held back from really this true instruction. And so I think that's not what we need this time. So we're talking about digital literacy specialists because we want to highlight the teaching component, the solid delivery of that. So anyways, just happy to share that with y'all.
Wonderful to hear. Can't wait to see the application, and that's helpful feedback about digital navigators. I had not heard that, so that's good to know.
I'll echo digital navigators as a really important role. We've heard it through the libraries in a couple of counties, and we've seen it in the field over and over again.
Okay. Thank y'all. So we will pass it over to Matt Creedle to ask his question or give us an update.
It's more of a kind of a comment on the discussions that are had, and I'll work backwards. Digital navigators, we in Marion County are very blessed to have a couple, and they actually are the ones who lead our county-run digital literacy workshops. And Marion County, we don't own or operate or lease any of the infrastructure, and we have no desire to. So that's, as I've kind of said in the past, the area where Marion County looks to make the biggest mark is in digital literacy workshops. And so we held one in one of the county libraries about, I think it was about a week and a half ago. We focused on online shopping habits. And one of the partnerships that we reached ended up falling through the last minute, but he's definitely wants to keep it going, is we partnered with our state attorney's office. Bill Gladson in Marion is the 5th SAO, and he's a great partner as well. And he was interested in partnering in future ones as well to make sure that his office, they've got some information on that they can put it out. So that and the digital navigators we have are partners within the county as well. So those, it's worked out very well for Marion County. And then on the OPAGA interview, Marion County, we did ours as well. And the area that we really focused on was giving the LTPTs a little more teeth, at least in the short term, or if there is any more money coming down. And that may come in the way of legislation that gives kind of a public records exemption for the applications and the maps being submitted, because as I've noted in the past, one of the things that really kills us is the ISPs are loath to share their maps and their applications. They have no desire to do it. And so it's very tough as an LTPT to make sure that the areas that we know need that expansion and that growth the most, sometimes, it may take a little bit of a prodding to get the ISP there, and we can't engage that because we don't know where they're going to go. We have had some ISPs, pull one or two of us aside or pull me and a commissioner aside. It's kind of like in a dark alley and show a little map, but don't tell anyone I'm showing you this. And so we do have a little bit, but that was the area that we focused on, was giving the LTPT some more teeth to really kind of direct where that's going to go. And I don't know how long that'll last, because this funding is not forever. And so by the time legislation passes, unless it gets through this cycle, I don't know what it would go. But anyway, that's kind of my long and winding comments. Thank you. Of course, I also gave you all some love to OPAGA as well, because I definitely appreciate the Office of Broadband. So hope everyone has a happy holiday season, and warm wishes from Marion County.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, Archie, I see that your hand is up as well.
Right, so I'm going to work backwards like everybody did, because the same topics, and echo what both Kyle and Matt said. So what we do here is the not-for-profits like Quantum Foundation and stuff. They're the ones who actually are reaching out to do the cyber navigator or the cyber literacy thing, so the county doesn't really get involved except through our libraries. Our libraries do some programs for their patrons that come in to kind of do that. And I think Matt said he did some of the library too. Back to the college training, and Carl mentioned Margaret about Miami-Dade, that they actually went with the colleges down there, and they did get the curriculums updated for the county jobs. So I'm hoping that maybe the either carriers or the fiber install, those guys will start looking at doing that, working through some program like this to start getting these guys certified and trained to be able to do it. Because the carriers really don't, as I said, don't need that talent, because Mastec and the other ones, they provide that service to them as subcontracts to them. So hopefully we can really work to get that going. And the last thing was the same thing with that we have about the teeth with the LTPT, but it's pretty hard because yes, the carriers will not share. They will not share anything on a meeting. They won't, and they'll call you in the corner and say, "Hey, yeah, we're looking to do something here," but they will not share. And what we have seen here in our LTPT is just really one carrier that's going after the funding. The other major carriers don't seem to be going, so they're not willing to share anything, because I guess they're going to use their own money to do whatever, because they want that competition. Because once they apply, then they can't, it's restricted. And I did tell OPA that it's too restricted, that the carriers are just not going to push for it. So if they can get that changed, then maybe we're willing to share, because you don't want duplication of effort, but they're in there to make a business. So they just will not share what they're doing. So it's hard for us to get that information as to what's being covered. That's my 2 cents.
Okay. Thank y'all for sharing that with us. Jacob, you're gonna say something?
I was just gonna say, we passed, I think 2 years ago, a bill that put a lot of that into public records exemption. It's kind of a bummer to hear, because I had anticipated that would sort of help bring them to the table, and it sounds like it hasn't. But a lot of this stuff that's proprietary should be exempt from public records, so they should be able to share it on the meetings and feel confident about that. The application information, that's all public record. So if they come to you with that application, it should be public record exempt. So that's, like I said, that's interesting to hear that they're still not willing to share.
So Jacob, they will share that when you're making an application, right? They'll share what they can share. But as to what their plans are, they will not share that unless they're going to make an application. And that's the point.
Okay.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or comments or any reports they would like to share before we close off? Okay. So we will end the meeting. Our next meeting will be January 16th. I forgot to change the year, so it'll be January 16th, 2025, not 2024. But thank y'all again for joining us. I hope everyone has a very safe, happy holiday, Christmas, New Year's, and we will see y'all in January. Thank you.
And Roy, thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye, Aaron.
Thank you.
And Jacob. Thanks very much.